Hello everybody. Eater of Souls, that's an intimidating name if I've ever heard one, has asked me if I can prove that the sum of interior angles in a triangle is 180 degrees. Right, so we're going to get started with this. First things first, I'm going to try to do this as bare bones as I can, so hopefully you'll agree with me that if I have a point and then I rotate around it, that's a 360 degree turn. Right? And the reason for this is because 360 degrees, it factors really nicely. So if you wanted to break this down into smaller angles, like 72 degrees for a pentagon, or a square's got 90 degrees, it's just this number, it factors really well, so that's why we use it as the sort of hallmark for degrees. But there's not really a good reason as to why it has to specifically be 360 degrees. There's plenty of other numbers that factors really well, but regardless, hopefully you'll accept that. So, one thing to note is that as a consequence of this, if we have a line here and we do a half turn, that's 180 degrees. So, any angle on a straight line is 180 degrees, and hopefully you can accept that as well. Now, here's where we're going to try to make it a little more interesting. Let us say that we have two parallel lines. So, could be any set of them, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to draw them in here. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to draw a separate picture for this. I want to know, if I have another line that comes through these, I want to know a relationship between this angle and this angle. So that's B and C. Right? So how am I going to work this out? Right? What I'm going to do is just step away from this picture for a second. Imagine that you're on a walk. I know. It's daunting to get a mathematician out of the house, but just bear with me. So here you are, you're taking this path here and you're heading in this direction. And here, I'm going to ask you to just turn just some angle. Doesn't really matter where it is. And this is going to be your new path. So here's where you would have been going if you hadn't turned. So the amount that you've turned is going to be just this angle here. We'll call it capital D. So that's where you've turned. Now what I want you to do is I want you to turn again just one more time. And I'm going to draw, so this is where you would have been heading. I want you to be walking back in the opposite direction to where you were starting from. So I want you to come back on a parallel line opposite to this one, but you're just walking the other way. So it's going to look something like this. Now, so here is the angle that you've just turned, and hopefully you agree with me that if you have turned around halfway, in other words you're facing back in the opposite direction that you started with, you've done a half turn, which is 180 degrees. So if I have this angle here, let's call it capital E, because why not? If I add this to the angle that you've already turned, then I should get 180 degrees, right? So that is to say that E plus D is equal to 180 degrees. In other words, E is equal to 180 degrees minus D. And if we want to be a bit more complete as well, then we can have a look at this angle. And I'm just going to get rid of where this E is here. So this is going to be 180 minus D. We know the angle's on a straight line, so that's this line here, this with this dotted line. It's going to be 180 minus D, add on whatever this angle is equal to 180, so just kind of clearly that has to be D. If you add D to 180 minus D, then you get 180. So we've kind of established this relationship here. Hopefully that's like a nice sort of way you can sort of physically think about it. So we have this relationship here. Well, I guess if we're looking for B plus C, you're going to get, it's just basically the same thing, so you're going to get 180 minus D here. if it'll actually draw it in. So you get that if you have B and you add C to it, then you get 180 degrees. Right, and then finally we're going to use this fact, these parallel angle facts, to answer the question that we were looking for to begin with. Right, so let's draw a random triangle. And we'll call the angles in it A, B, and C. So here I have A, here's B, and here's C. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extend this bottom one. And I'm going to draw a parallel line to that at the top here. And really, it's just kind of a simple exercise. So, again, angles on a straight line. This angle here is going to be 180. Take away A. If it'll actually draw it in. And so this angle has to add with this angle to get to 180 degrees. We've just seen that, we've just established that. So this angle here is just going to be A. And again, same thing, but just on the opposite side. This is going to be 180 minus B. We'll draw it in. And so this angle up here is just going to be B. And we know that if we have a straight line, all angles on that straight line add up to 180 degrees. So what we have here is we have A plus B plus C is equal to 180. And if we look inside our triangle, A plus B plus C, those are just the angles that we have within that triangle. So we've established this nice relationship. Thank you for watching, and remember to like, subscribe, and ask questions. Visit the Reddit if you have any. Thank you for watching.